I'm right here, boss man. I got this, yeah.
Champions. Magoo, I think I know the answers to this question already. But which one is sweeter?
I don't want to be super gay and be like a parent, like, I love both of my kids in different ways. But I got to say last year was sweeter.
That's what I thought.
Because it had been 41 years. I had never seen it happen. And we had been on such a heartbreaking. Yeah, I agree. We had been on such a heartbreaking run against Alabama going back before Kirby that it was like rip your heart out at the last second, whether it was a natty or an SEC championship or come into Sanford and just beat our ass all over the field at a rainy day where I was there and I was fucking soaked, damn near got pneumonia watching my team get steamrolled by Bama. Just years and years and years of not getting over the Bama hump to finally, and to me, I felt like it was the proper way to do it. Like, because everybody kind of knew. And my next door neighbor, best friend, and co-host on Ignore the Rant, Doug, is a Bama fan. He said the day that Kirby was hired at Georgia, y'all are going to be the new Alabama in about 6 to 10 years once Saban moves on, retires, or whatever. Because he understood that Kirby was a major pillar as to why the Alabama program became as dominant as it was. And I say was intentionally. He was like, if you were to put Kirby back on Bama, they would be right back to where they were 10 years ago in a overnight. And so Kirby brought that to Bama, and now he has it at Georgia, just with more years of experience under his belt and confidence and all this other stuff. So we had to go through Saban to make it not feel like last night or Monday night, where now everybody said, TCU didn't deserve to be there. They don't have the talent to stack up. That this was a cheap championship, whatever. And all those people can just, I'm not even bothered by their opinions are meaningless. But if that was our first one, then I think, what's up, Buck?
What up?
Then I think that there would still be something left to prove. Can you get over that hump? Can you get over the Saban hump? I think that getting that out of the way for our first one was the rightful passage to what was to come. It had to happen that way. Any other way, it would feel incomplete. And we already got that knocked out, and now we just went and set every record known to man for not only championship games, but just bowl games.
Did I saw it correctly? It was the widest margin in a bowl game period, right?
All bowl games over 1,500 plus, over the 100+ year history of collegiate football. It was exactly what I want. It was the most fulfilling moment I've had in my entire life watching athletics. They did things in real life that I haven't done in video games.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the most, well, I'm not a man of many different words, but fulfilling. It was everything coming out at once. It was us playing a perfect game while TCU needed every lucky ball drop their way to have a chance. They played their worst game. We played our best game, and it was perfection.
So I didn't even turn that game on from the start for two reasons. Number one, obviously, bitter sour grapes.
Now, I can respect that.
I wanted to be in the arena. And then the second reason is I was expecting a thrashing. I think I said it in our group, but I was expecting 45-13, something like that. Not necessarily 65-7 or whatever the final score was. But
I didn't expect 65-7 either. I felt odd on last week's show when it was Matt and I, and at the end, he gave me a minute to kind of give my run on talking some shit about the game. And I was a little worried after I did that. I was like, oh no, what have I done? I just jinxed the whole, broken legs everywhere. We're going to have fourth string in the first quarter. I did the thing you don't do. And that's pretty much guarantee a win. But it was the most confident I had ever been going into a meaningful game in my Georgia fandom lifetime. I mean, you can kind of feel it that everybody knew that Ohio State was the better matchup for Georgia. They had the horses that could run with us. They have the number of 4 and 5 stars. They have NFL talent all over that team. They were lucky to get in because USC was such trash down the stretch. Go Tulane. And Bama didn't deserve it. They had a down year. Tennessee didn't deserve it. They shouldn't have lost like that to South Carolina. There were so many teams that had to fall away for Ohio State to get in. And that would have been right if Ohio State never made it in because they didn't deserve it. But for these other teams clearing the path for them. It has nothing to do with their talent. They were more than talented to be a playoff team, but you have to earn it. And TCU earned it. TCU is not anywhere close to as talented. They don't have the blue chip guys. They don't have the pedigree. They don't have the history. They were a true Cinderella story. They were Boise State from 2007. They just happened to be able to do that in the playoff era where they could luck their way into a natty, and they deserve to be there. I got so many people that aren't Georgia fans that are so butthurt by the outcome of this game that they retroactively go back and say TCU should have never been there. And I say you're full of shit. That's just sour grapes. Sorry you weren't entertained, but I won't apologize for my team doing what they did on Monday. That was the greatest shit I've ever experienced in my life, and I will never for 1 second think differently.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because I wonder, because as just an NFL, as a Raiders fan, and you as a Falcons fan, our teams don't do that typically to other teams. And people that just kind of watch football will always tell me, well, y'all are playing the Chiefs. I hope it's at least a good game. And I always think, well, I hope it's not. I hope we beat them like 100-0. So I was wondering what your thoughts were when your team got to actually almost do that, almost 100-0 for all intents and purposes. So that's good. You loved it.
Absolutely loved it. Seeing them do curtain calls with 13 plus minutes left in the fourth quarter and a natty. We're never going to see that again. And another thing is like people were saying, oh, well, it was such a blowout. And I'm like, have you paid attention to the history of the college football playoff? Blowouts are littered up and down the list. The very first year, Oregon scored 59 points against Florida State, a defending champion Florida State team, might I add. I think they were defending champ. The next year, Alabama 38-0 on Michigan State. They shut them out.
That was so satisfying.
And then fast forward again the next year. This is now 3 years in a row. Clemson shut out Ohio State 31-0. Alabama that year went 24. Washington only got 7. Another blowout. The following year, that was a pretty good year. Everything was pretty decent. And then fast forward to 2019 in the Natty, Clemson 44, number 1 Alabama blue chip program 16, a fucking throttling. I don't want to hear this shit that
I remember
because it was
during that game.
Because it was a blowout, therefore they didn't deserve to be there. Where were you the last 9 years? It's been happening every fucking year.
Yeah, you could look at the NFL and say, well, Seattle doesn't really deserve to be there. I'm not sure Tampa Bay deserves to be there, but it's like, well, they went by the rules. Here's the system that we have, and they're there. And
wild cards have won Super Bowls recently within the last generation. It's happened. It's not like it's unheard of.
Pittsburgh was one when they did theirs, and I think I think it was Pittsburgh, but I think it's fun to speculate when this time comes around for the NFL playoffs. Think of the crappiest 2 teams in AFC and NFC and imagine that Super Bowl. I was joking yesterday, like we could see a Jags Seattle Super Bowl. We could. Yeah.
Someone gave me this exact matchup yesterday. Like, I'm not going to watch it if that's a matchup. And I was like, yeah, that does sound pretty gross.
I told that to my Jags friend at work, and he was like, oh, that'd be the lowest rated Super Bowl. And hey, it's your team. You never know. It could happen. It's all feasible at this point.
Well, and it turns out that this was the lowest rated national championship in history.
After a certain amount of time, I have to imagine.
I think they were looking at sustained viewers, and I think
I could see that.
I think it averaged at like 17 million, which to me is still like, holy shit, that's a lot of people. Yeah. But last year got like 30. So it was it was a slight reduction. And I don't blame them. I mean, TCU's not a big school. Yeah, no. Their enrollment is 10,000 kids. The college I went to in South Georgia was bigger than that when I went there 20 years ago. And we were 1AA when I was down there. So I couldn't be happier. I know this isn't a college football show, but thank you for giving me the first few minutes to kind of give a little exhale on what happened with my dogs.
Georgia fans deserve it. I wish Tho was here.
Yeah,
well deserved.
Yeah.
I was happy for you guys. That was pretty cool.
It was incredible. I will be at the parade this Saturday if Tho watches this back, and if he's going to be at the parade. The championship parade.
No, I'm joking. All right.
Through downtown Athens, I will be cross-eyed and cheering and barking at strangers. It's going to be wonderful.
It's the MLK parade.
Got to be with my people.
From what you said earlier, Buck, about you watching your team blow out teams in championship games or in general or whatever.
Any game.
Following Brady through his career and being a fan of his, like all of the Patriots Super Bowls were completely close games down to the wire, and I wanted so badly to watch a Brady Super Bowl that was a blowout. So yeah, I would have enjoyed any of those games turning out to be blowout, which then of course the Tampa Bay Kansas City one turned out to be.
Yes.
And it's kind of nice to watch.
And one thing I always liked about Belichick and Brady together is it wasn't necessarily championship games, but the regular season games, they never let off the gas pedal. It could be multiple scores. They wouldn't sit Brady. Belichick just kept going, just like Georgia was doing the other night. So I always respected that because, like, when we had Gruden, if we started beating a team, he would get conservative, like, all right, let's run. And I'm like, why do this? Keep playing the same game you've been playing and win. Especially now we know, as the unfortunately for Jim, the Falcons found out, you can't just stop and slow down on a professional team.
No. This is actually, this phrase I'm about to say has been left out, I believe, recently of all of our talks about kind of the baseness of sports and the culture, camaraderie, and community that is associated in that. And the one thing that I've thought about every time, I'm like, fuck, I wish I would have said this. I'm going to say it now. There's something to be gained about pursuing excellence, that you don't stop just because you're achieving it. You continue it. You hammer it down. You don't stop. You don't relent. You instill your will on your foe, and you don't let up until they quit or it becomes a crime. And then everything after that is just debatable. But while the clock is still got numbers on it, your pursuit of excellence should never, ever waver.
Yeah.
And
well put.
It was an excellent time. I will be rewatching that game throughout the offseason. Much like last year, there won't be this long lingering, worry about next year. I don't even give a shit about next year. Some assholes are saying, "Oh, three-peat." Don't care. I got this. I'm good for now. But that pursuit of excellence.
I was going to ask if
we'll pick up in August.
But I guess you don't care.
We are currently the prohibitive favorite to win the Natty next year again, with Bama being 2. I think Ohio State or USC filling out the other 4. I think Michigan's in the top 6. Somebody was 8, and I forgot who that was, but they were a pretty significant team. I think maybe LSU, actually. So we are currently favored to win it again. I don't get my hopes up on that kind of shit. I didn't think we were going to do that this year. I sincerely thought we were going to take a step back. I was actually one of the guys who wanted Stetson to step away from the team and like go out on a high note. I figured with all the drama and questioning and distraction from what the team's goals were, I didn't know how that was going to affect a bunch of young guys coming in. And I am happy to report that Stetson Bennett proved me thoroughly wrong for 2 years. And I fucking love that guy for the rest of time. So anyway, we can get off the college stuff if you'd like. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions if you have them. But otherwise,
I'm here all night for your college questions.
We got playoff. We're finally in the playoffs.
We are
for this weird ass NFL season that apparently will wrap up at some future date. They didn't cancel all of football because one guy got hurt, so that's cool. Any thoughts on, I guess, this past week's games? They were kind of funky, weird. A lot of players sitting out on some teams, other teams playing their balls off to retain a number 1 spot. And I will say this. This is petty as shit, but this is sports, and this is where petty comes to thrive. Tom Brady, now officially not undefeated against the Falcons. That's as good as I got for this season. That's a peak pinnacle Falcon statement for this.
But he started the game, so you're right. He didn't finish the game, but he
was undefeated against the Falcons until that game, and so that's the only silver lining that exists. Yeah, I guess so.
Did they lose any draft position with that win, or it's just whatever?
We are the 8th pick. I think we pretty much should. I mean, winning the last 2 games of the year when it really didn't matter, and the coach wasn't ever in hot water for his position. He hadn't been here long enough. And our defensive coordinator said right out on the outset he was old as shit coming in. He was like, look, I'll give you a couple years to get your feet under you, but I'm retiring. I'd already like to be retired, but I'm doing this kind of as a favor.
Who is it?
So don't know. I'll be honest. I have no idea.
Okay, I thought it was gonna be some old guy we all knew.
No. I'll look up. Let's see if I can click on my team and if it gives me the news right here. It was some guy. I remember when we got our new coaching staff, I was like, I don't know any of these guys other than our head coach, Pees, Pees, retires for the third time.
It's not Dean, is it?
Yeah, Dean Pees.
It is. Okay.
Yeah, he's 73.
Okay.
And so I think he came out of retirement to do this as a favor to Arthur Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And he fulfilled his couple of years' duties, and he's like, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
Going to enjoy life.
At that age, I
So-
don't blame him.
So I know that there's a lot of coaching shuffling happening, a lot of discussions, murmurs,
Mhm.
Yeah, our
rumors,
specialist isn't on the show yet.
rumors
Our
of
offensive
meetings and
specialist.
Zooms and interviews, and can I talk to this guy and all that. I just want Dan Quinn back in Atlanta, but not as head coach. I want him to come fulfill our defensive coordinator spot, which I know is a pipe dream. But I
Where
would
is
love
Dan
that.
Quinn right now?
Currently with the Cowboys, but he's interviewing with everyone.
Okay.
He's a hot commodity. He'll be a head coach, I imagine,
He's not there.
before
Is he?
next year.
Oh, he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, he's Dallas's defensive coordinator.
Well, he's doing well then.
Yeah. Once Atlanta got rid of him, he went straight to Dallas, turned their defense into what it is.
Yeah.
Took
Yeah,
a couple of Falcons with him, some fan favorites, because unlike the Falcons, Dan Quinn knows what a defense is.
Mm.
So I would love for him to just do a lateral move, which does not exist in the NFL. I hope that maybe
Barely.
he just I hope that his time being a head coach in Atlanta scared him away from ever wanting to be a head coach again. He's like, I'm kind of digging this DC thing. But I know that's not going to happen. But anyway,
Do you
Falcons
think
suck.
Quinn
They're-
is a good coach? I mean, do you think he learned from the mistakes he made in Atlanta and actually would become a good head coach?
I don't know. I think that it determined. I think a coach's success is determined a lot more by the front office than people want to acknowledge.
I agree.
And if you don't have the right people with the right mentality, with the right buy-in, with the right everything, all of my services or all of my resources are at your service to do whatever you need to produce the best result on the field. Without that, it's a ticking time bomb before it blows up and goes to shit. Dan Quinn took the Falcons to the Super Bowl in his second year as head coach. And then everything was downhill after that.
I mean, Kyle Shanahan screwed it up for him.
Yeah, and Shanahan went to San Fran. He's starting to experience some success, but I don't know what can be learned unless he just carries that burden with him, saying, I got to make better hires, or I got to not be so likable in the press. I mean, I don't know, because he was the most likable guy. He took the blame for everything. He used all the cliches, and he never made a good coordinator hire after the Super Bowl. And I think it was too big for him to be able to manage that. So I don't know what lies ahead for Quinn. If he even does take a head coaching job, I don't know what he can do differently. It has to be a perfect matchup between him and a front office that gives a shit. And a lot of times in the NFL, the front office just wants to make money, and they know nothing about what it takes to produce a productive winning product. And that's the real bummer of it, the business side of it.
I think that's been the issue with the Cowboys for a long time. I
Mhm.
think it was somewhat the issue with Al Davis towards the end. And to speak to your point, coaches like Belichick, Mike Shanahan, when he was in Denver for a long time, all of those old school great coaches, Parcells, they want control over who comes in and who they draft, probably because of that exact reason. They don't want some pencil neck like CEO nerd deciding who gets which players they get, and then all of a sudden we'll make it work for us.
Yeah. Well, what did Parcells always say? I want to buy the groceries.
Yep.
And you saw why.
Yeah.
And his protege is obviously Sean Payton, and it's probably a super enticing candidate out there for everyone. But obviously, owners know if they're going after Payton, then they're giving up a lot of power.
Yeah.
And to me, that's why I think Denver is a perfect spot for Payton. They got the ownership with the deepest pockets in the league, from what I understand. I don't know if the Skins are supplanting that with their 3-headed ownership thing that's coming down. I don't know. But Denver has the money to back Brinks trucks up to anybody's door that takes that coaching position. And I think with what Peyton did with Breeze and having a solid defense in New Orleans all those years, Denver is perfectly primed for that. They are a ready, set team. You just need a coach that has a proven track record, hopefully with a Lombardi, trophy and a Super Bowl ring to back it up. And I don't know how many of those guys are out there floating around with nothing to do. Sean Payton's the only one right now that comes to mind that's not retired, like retired.
And I think
to me that always lined up.
I think Wilson and Breeze are the same exact frame, height and everything, from what I remember.
I thought of Kyler Murray. I know none of us are fans of Kyler Murray, but I could see Peyton being tempted by his skill set too.
I don't think Peyton would put up with his lack of discipline.
I mean, that would be jarring going from Breeze to Kyler Murray.
He would push Kyler out. He would make him leave the team. Like, he would force him to quit. And that would be such a fracturing distraction for that program. What's up, Matt? That I think Peyton at Arizona would be the perfect move to make if you're trying to implode and have the most fantastic display of an implosion, shitstorm, fireworks show, whatever you want to call it, because I think the personalities would clash so hard. I don't see Kyler taking direction. I think Kyler wants to run that operation, even though he hasn't earned it, he doesn't deserve it, and I don't think Sean Payton would put up with that shit. I think Russell Wilson needs a heavy-handed, hard-headed coach like a Pete Carroll who could manage him. I think Sean Payton could easily slide in and turn Russell Wilson into a former version of what Russ was. That's just my thoughts. I mean, to me, that seems like a slam dunk, but we'll see what happens.
We don't want Denver to do that, but I agree with you.
Yeah. It just seems like the obvious move to make.
Yeah.
I mean, if they don't do it, then that means that they're more incompetent than I thought.
We hope that. I hope they hire Levy.
And I'm with you.
But I think
I am no Broncos fan. Trust me.
Levy Smith's more conniving and than we thought.
That white beard was hiding something. I'm telling you. It was all of his tricks up his sleeve. He was waiting for the end to pull the final plug just to stick it to him and give one more gift to Chicago. I totally agree with your point.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I think Chicago is in a wonderful position right now.
Yeah.
I don't know that they necessarily need that number 1 pick.
They don't. There's rumors I thought that were funny and probably naturally to occur after that game with Houston and Indy. There's rumors that Indy could trade up with Chicago and trade the spot and let Chicago out of it. And the Texans rivalry team will be at the number 1 pick because they went for 2 on that team when they get CJ Stroud.
That is a theory.
Yeah. Who Houston would want.
It meant CJ Stroud checks off a lot of the boxes that Deshaun Watson did coming out of college, especially with everything he did in the Peach Bowl. I mean, that was Deshaun Watson-esque if anybody had ever, made a comparison, or if anybody ever watched Deshaun Watson play college football, you got that on full display on New Year's Eve night. And I think the Texans would grab him up in a heartbeat. Knowing that Chicago doesn't need a quarterback.
Just if Indy's trades up into that spot and get them.
Yeah.
Right now, Indy doesn't even know what coach is going to be on the sidelines. I mean, for a minute, it was Vegas odds were like 1,000,000 to 1 or whatever is really good. Obviously, 1,000,000 to 1 is not. 1 to 2 that Harbaugh was going to be on the sidelines because Jim Irsay is a goddamn madman and just likes doing crazy, funky shit. And he was like, well, I had a former player coach. He wasn't really ready, but Harbaugh's a former coach or a former player and a proven coach. Let's get him in here. And I could see that wily old bastard doing that.
Yeah. Just
coming in and saying, whatever, let's do it. Michigan's under investigation. I'm sorry, Mark. I know this is probably bad juju. Probably a sensitive subject, but it could have a ripple effect in the NFL. What's going on in Ann Arbor could very much affect the coaching search for all the available teams.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to go to Indianapolis. He butted heads with the San Francisco upper management too much, and I don't see him getting along with Jim Irsay. I think the former player thing is really the only thing that would be enticing for him. And he
And the
did do
division itself, I think, over the AFC West, as far as like, well, I got to face Herbert and Mahomes for the next 10 years, or
yeah.
whoever Houston gets, maybe who's going to Tennessee, I don't know. And then you have Jacksonville, and he's starting to look pretty amazing. But I'd take those odds if I wanted this, to come back. The South looks like an easier division to dominate.
I do think ultimately he's remaining in Michigan.
I agree.
He got a pay cut after disastrous 2020 season. And then since then, Michigan's won 2 Big Ten titles and 2 playoff appearances. And he's fourth as far as like paid coaches in the Big Ten. He's behind stupid Mel Tucker at Michigan State and James Franklin at Penn State. He's also not he's not getting along well with the AD. Him and some other coaches went to the AD about setting up like an NIL fund, and he turned that down, and that's hurt recruiting. So it's more so behind the scenes contract NIL stuff, I think, that is causing his interest to return to the league. And then also, like you said, he is facing a suspension for recruiting violations this year.
Well, and the change in the landscape and the makeup of college football, what it means to be a head coach these days. Before 10, 15 years ago, it was the nonstop 24/7, 365 recruiting schedule that would drive NFL coaches out. They're like, I don't want to entertain 16, 17, 18-year-olds trying to entice them to come play with me or play for me. Sorry, don't clip that. But now you have NIL.
That was Penn State.
Hit the showers, boys. But now you have NIL, transfer portal, early opt-out, NFL. If you have a player get injured, or if a player does something stupid on social media, now you have to then do disciplinary action because now the world just saw it and it's clipped and it's being blasted, and that hurts your program. Like the amount of headaches that college coaches have to put up with year round. There's no such thing as an off season for a college coach. That doesn't exist. I can understand why NFL is so enticing to people that have been in that meat grinder of the college world, where you hit a certain age and it's like, if you don't get me the fuck out of here.
So the supposed violation is did you see this? He bought a burger for 2 recruits and he didn't turn in those receipts.
Wow.
So when asked by the investigators about it, he kind of blew them off, which fair enough. I'd probably blow them off too if I was questioned about buying burgers for recruits.
Wow.
Yeah, Burgergate.
Yeah.
We went back to college. Sorry. Matt, where's Sean Payton going?
And welcome to the show.
Thank you. I've been sitting here getting caught up on any NFL news I might have missed this afternoon. Doesn't seem like there was a whole lot. Is it just me, or does it seem like there's a lot more head coaching candidates this year than in most years? Typically, it seems like there's usually 5 to 8 candidates generally, and then there's maybe 3 to 5 spots open. This year, I've counted 12 at least of pretty significant names that are being tossed about. Various different offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, even special teams coach. Bubba Ventrone is going to be a candidate for the head coach for the Colts. He's been their special teams coordinator for a couple of years.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then you've got some retreads. You got Jim Caldwell.
Is Bieniemy in there? I can't remember say his name. He was seen to be recycled. Yeah.
Eric Bieniemy. I haven't heard his name at all this cycle, which is kind of interesting.
He's come through 4 or 5 cycles and never got a job.
And I think that's due to the fact that they're doing kind of like a interview blackout until they're done with the year. Because there's I forget. Oh, the Tulane head coach, not to take us back into college, but Willie Fritz. Georgia Tech was willing to they offered him, they interviewed him, they selected him, saying you're our guy, but we want you to come here now to start recruiting. Like every day is a day missed if you're not here. And Willie was like, I'm getting ready to go to a bowl game to play USC, which they won, might I add. Fuck USC. And because Georgia Tech wasn't patient enough to just wait in 2 more weeks, they missed out on him entirely. And if you're not willing to respect someone else's time to finish their obligations and responsibilities, you don't deserve that coach. And I think that I think the coaching staffs that are gonna most likely are positioned for deep runs in the playoffs aren't interviewing yet.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, most of the names you're hearing are college coaches that were fired, or NFL coaches.
Matt said Jim Caldwell. I
Yeah,
haven't
yeah.
seen this one.
He's like the most uninspiring human being I've ever seen. I have no idea why he keeps getting interviews.
I'm glad the Lions have Campbell, even though I wanted him fired several times at the beginning of the year. But when they fired Caldwell, I was like, I feel like Caldwell's the best the Lions can do right now. And he had actually brought the Lions to the playoffs twice, but no one actually liked him here.
I feel like when he got fired, it was like he walked in and they said, Jim, you're fired. And he was like, okay.
Is that kind of teal black man that used to be on Indy?
Yeah. Very, very sleepy.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I think of Lovie Smith. Like, it drives me crazy. These old black guys that just sit there like this, like they're turtles or something like that.
Oh dear. Just, and then just turn around and walk out. Like,
the guy at Cleveland too. What was his name?
Oh shit.
Romeo Cornell.
No.
The more recent guy before.
He accused the front office of telling him to tank. His
Brian
career
Flores.
record is something insane.
Was that Brian Flores?
No. Shit. It was when the Browns had Hard Knocks.
Is it Hugh? Hugh something?
Hugh Jackson.
Hugh Jackson.
Yes.
Yeah, he was on the Raiders too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta look at this.
Yeah, I think his record was like 2-14, like 2 years in a row, and they're like, I think we have to fire you. He's like, but I'm gonna go jump in that cold lake and do something. And they're like, yeah, that's not football related. You can go.
Yeah.
I just remember watching Hard Knocks, and half of an episode was about him doing the polar plunge, and I was like, yeah, but what does that do for your defense? Like
his record at Cleveland is 3-36.
Ooh, I was just a smidge. I gave him one win too many.
Jeez.
8-8 at Oakland though. So hey,
Yeah.
I guess he could win.
That was the year that Al Davis died.
2011.
Mm-hmm.
It's been that long?
From when Hugh Jackson was with us, yeah.
No, when Al Davis died. I mean, me, it still feels like that was like 2015.
Right, yeah. It's been that long.
Lordy.
Lord have mercy.
Well.
You asked about Sean Payton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I've been kind of leaning toward the Cardinals because I'm kind of thinking about, number one, which franchise would be at a position where they're ready to just kind of just give the reins over to someone and say, you know what, just you just take the ship and just go. You're going to represent. You're going to be the football face of everything now. It's your show. I think the Cardinals are probably feeling like they're in that sort of a state right now. But hold on, I want to look up one other thing here.
You think that would be a creative method of getting rid of Kyler because the front office doesn't have the balls, and they're like, "Look, we got rid of the GM, we got rid of the head coach, but we can't stomach the idea of us getting rid of our generational franchise quarterback, even though we see the problems that you all see. We just need a coach that comes in and doesn't put up with that and forces his hand and forces us to get rid of him."
I think that Kyler probably. I have a feeling that it's not going to be possible to get rid of him.
Just financially?
Yeah. Okay, so holy shit.
No.
So if they cut Kyler, a pre-June 1 cut, oh my God. A pre-June 1 cut would leave $96.5 million in dead money, and it would cost them $80 million against the cap.
He's there.
For 2023. For 2024, $81 million in dead money, $30 million against the cap. The first time, 2025, he has a cap number of $45 million, $33 million in dead money, and $12.5 million in cap savings if they cut him. So pre-June 1 of 2025 is the first time that they would save against the cap by cutting him, but they would still have $33 million in dead money. In 2026, they would save $35 million in cap space. They would have $20 million in dead money. So, like, they are tied to him. His contract is even more of an albatross than Russell Wilson's. It would be easier for the Broncos to get out of Russell Wilson's contract than it would be for the Cardinals to get out of Kyler's contract.
And that's not easy to begin with.
Yeah.
Wow, that's worse then.
Yeah. Like they can't get out of Kyler's contract for at least 3 seasons.
Oof.
So, well, I mean, yeah, technically before 2025, they could get out of it and they could just take a $33 million dead money hit, which at that point the cap is probably going to be $250 million or something. So as a percentage, it's going to be less. But yeah, but I don't think that they necessarily need to. I don't think that Kyler is, I think Kyler is a fine quarterback. I think he is someone that you can win with. I think that Cliff Kingsbury didn't really strike me as the type. He was kind of easygoing and passive. And there was a couple of times this year where I saw Kyler chewing Cliff out.
Yes,
and it didn't look like Kyler was like he has the reputation of being kind of like a lazy moron kind of. Or just kind of like he just wants to play video games, doesn't want to play at all. And those times, it looked like he was like pissed off because he wanted to win. He wanted things done the right way, and he disagreed with what Cliff was doing. This didn't look like a guy who wasn't passionate about the game. It looked like the opposite. The fact that he would scream at his head coach in a setting like that, and his head coach just looked kind of out of his depth. I think Kyler is probably fine. His biggest issue is, can they keep him healthy? But
and on top of that, they already said before they fired Kingsbury that Kyler's not starting next year.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
They not started because of his injury.
Yeah, because of his injury.
Oh, got it.
And to be on the pup list.
And there were also, on top of yelling at the coach, there was a handful of times where he was yelling at his own players.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I saw it differently, but that's also because I think he's just a terrible, childish, immature, horrible play technique, but full of talent quarterback that is highly disagreeable with anything that he's told. But I also have a buddy of mine who's from Arizona, diehard Cardinals fan, who despises Kyler Murray. Like loved him. Then was like, wait, he hasn't progressed. He's still the same guy as he was the day he left Oklahoma. There's been no development. Going back to dead money hits, though, Matt, I don't know if you're able to see this. I saw something where Cliff Kingsbury signed an extension, I think last year through 2027. What dead money hit is that? Or how much money is, and do they get out of it if they fire him, which I don't think that's ever been the case, but how much dead money is already sitting on their chest right now just from the decision of getting rid of the coach? Like, does that make them even more tethered to Kyler?
So the coach's contract does not affect the salary cap.
Right.
Okay.
It's completely separate. So, so it's just up to what the owners are willing to. So it's cash flow. It isn't. So it's the cash and the cap are separate mechanisms. And so for them, let me see if I can find there. I'm on overthecap.com, which is like the best resource for looking at this stuff.
The coach's salary or pay affects kind of the organization at the high level and what they can and income that they are making. The salary cap aspect of the players affects like the competitiveness on the field, as far as I understand it.
Yeah. So any
Makes
cash that's paid to a player has to be accounted for on the salary cap, but they have mechanisms for spreading that out. Like, for example, you can take a signing bonus and it's cash that's paid to the player up front, but you can divide it out over up to 5 years. So that's part of the reason why you'll get dead money sometimes, because you'll get a guy who maybe he gets a $20,000 or $20 million sign-on bonus, and so that gets over 5 years, so that's $4 million each year. They cut him after year 3, so he had 2 more years on it, and those $4 million still get applied to the cap the following 2 years. And those are the dead money hit that they take.
And sometimes those contracts are lined up more like a typical business where it's like, we view you, the player, as a depreciating asset. So we will depreciate this payout over 7 years, and you might be gone after 3, but sometimes they weigh that against themselves, where they actually increase over the years so that it's more enticing to accept the deal. And other times they do it as a more traditional business where it's like, I'm going to make the investment now, and you're guaranteed 7 years of a decent living, regardless of your output and restructuring or any of that stuff. But yeah, they treat players as assets and just depreciate it over time. But sometimes these front offices are goofy, man. Like, I don't know how they made their billions or millions or whatever it took to buy the team, but damn, I forgot his name already. The old GM of the Patriots that came down to Atlanta, spiky hair, Thomas Dimitroff. He leveraged the Falcons into damn near bankruptcy with his contracts and how they were weighted. We're still paying Matt Ryan, we're still paying Julio Jones, we're still paying players that haven't worn a Falcons jersey in years. We're still paying. I think Calvin Ridley, that might be an extenuating circumstance, but I think we get about $100 million off of our cap for this upcoming year. We can literally buy a whole new team this offseason. And I just don't know if the front office that we have or the head coaches that we have are competent enough to pull that trigger. Because I hear that D-Hop might be getting a little frustrated in Arizona and want to get out.
They already announced that he's going to be traded, and it doesn't matter who they hire, that he's going to be traded, which is basically a declaration by ownership.
Yeah, that's where I want the Falcons go all in, buy Lamar. They're just going to franchise him up there. I understand that, but go after him anyway. You went after Deshaun. See, that didn't, no fruit there, and go after D-Hop.
I think if the Ravens try to sign Lamar, he'll probably refuse to sign the tender.
Yeah,
I think that after the seasons he's had, after everything he'll be like, if you're going to franchise me, then trade me.
Yeah.
Sorry, Magoo, but Buck, how does this sound? D-Hop, Devontae Adams, Tom Brady, and Josh Jacobs. Let's make it happen.
Ooh, that's a little too much. I mean, we can't afford,
it's probably not possible, but
we gave
Buck's like, I know that it's not healthy if I'm this horny.
Yeah,
it can't be good.
Yeah.
Oh no, if this lasts for more than 4 hours, I got to call somebody.
Well put. All of that, we have to re-sign Josh Jacobs when we've already given Devontae what was the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL until Tyreek saw that and got pissed. But I don't know that we could do that with Hopkins and get Tom Brady as well. That's going to be tough. I mean,
let me throw a curveball. Get Tom Brady's old ass out of there. What about Aaron Rodgers?
Those are the two options that fans keep discussing. And even my dad, who's a casual watcher, watched the Green Bay game where they lost the other night against the Lions. Nice work, Mark. I bet you were happy. And he texted me immediately and he said, I bet Aaron's already calling Las Vegas. So I could see that. And I think I'd rather have, this would be an interesting discussion, but I think I'd rather have Aaron Rodgers than Tom Brady. Sorry, Mark.
I would. At this point.
At this age,
yeah,
with an okay offensive line and a shitty ass defense that I assume is going to be all upgraded in the offseason, but I don't know. I think they would both come in with a lot of demands going, I'll come here, but you have to do this. But I think both of those guys would look at Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs and go, yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you for wanting Rodgers over Brady.
Al Davis, by the way, would completely
point.
take Tom Brady. 100%. Tom
Yeah.
Brady would be a Raider if Al was still alive.
Yeah.
That game that Brady played against Carolina 2 weeks ago, though, that made me, I mean, it was old Tom Brady. It was impressive to watch. It's like maybe there is a playoff form, but I don't know.
Yeah, I
hopes
mean,
aren't up.
if he were with Josh Josh McDaniels, I suppose the connection could be reignited, but we'll see. But I also, by the way, I think Tom Brady will be a Raider if I had to bet money. The insiders that I trust are saying Mark Davis wants him bad.
Nice.
And the Dolphins fans I know, and I wish Tho was here so badly, not only to gloat about Georgia stuff, but the Miami Dolphin connection that keeps getting just fisted down fans' throats. They're just saying Tom Brady's going to be a Dolphin. He's going to be a Dolphin.
Dolphin? What's the connection there?
Well,
that was why the
Yes.
Dolphins lost their first round pick, because the owner was trying to get Sean Payton and Tom Brady.
Yes. Okay.
and they were offering up ownership stock in the team to entice them to come. I mean,
Well, Tom Brady clearly makes good decisions financially.
I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Apparently, he's got a new girlfriend now too.
Yeah, did you see her picture?
I did.
You see
I
it?
think that
I
necklace
saw
is
the necklace.
photoshopped. I think that necklace is
I don't know if it's
photoshopped.
real, but
They can do a lot of funny
Get
things
that.
on the
That's
computer
smart, Mark.
these days.
he
I don't
could
know.
use
It's
some
real.
cash.
You
So
say Israel or Israel?
So
Phonetics.
if Aaron Rodgers is cut pre-June 1, then $99,778,570 in dead money hits the Packers cap for 2023.
What if it's an even swap for Carr and Rodgers?
If he's traded pre-June 1, then it's $98 million in dead money.
So neither here nor
And-
there. That's negligible.
And it costs $67 million against the cap. Now, if he's traded post June 1, then it's only a $30 million dead hit and saves $1.215 million in cap.
Carr has to be traded by the 15th of February for his whatever, the same kind of thing you're talking about for the Raiders. What did he just say? It popped up and lost it quickly. Well done.
Yeah, that Aaron Rodgers contract is a doozy. I mean, he may just retire, in which case things are handled on a more case-by-case basis, I think. But you're talking about cap space. So in 2023, the team with the most cap space, you guys know who it is?
I
give me
used
the
to.
Lions.
Nope.
No.
Lions are like 10th,
I
11th.
fear it's like the Chargers.
No.
I used to know this,
Chargers
but I got
have
too wrapped
negative
up.
cap space as of
Oh,
right now.
good. Even better. Okay.
I got too wrapped up with the Falcons cap space, but
Falcons are number 2.
Yeah, is it an NFC South team?
No. It
Is
is
it
an
A-
NFC team.
Yeah, it does. It does. It always does.
Giants.
Never sounds right.
Giants are number 3.
Okay.
So
You said it's an
Falcons,
NFC team.
yeah.
Yeah.
Falcons have 75 million in
Yeah.
cap space as of right
Oh,
now.
it's probably fucking
The Bears?
Seattle, isn't it?
The Bears.
Oh, Bears.
The Bear. I love the Bears
right.
position right now.
They have $118 million in cap space.
Where are the Rams on that? At the bottom?
Yes, the Rams.
I do want to talk about them.
They leveraged
are-
their entire
They
future
have,
on last
they have
year.
$832,000 in cap space.
That's
So
like
my-
you need fantasy.
I
This
mean,
is a
fuck,
short-
sign me up. I'll take that. Like, I know it's a tough decision. I'll come shag balls or whatever.
I was gonna say
Don't
they
clip
don't
that. but,
they don't need an HJ giver.
dude, got these elbows for stretching them out.
So that was speaking of the Rams. It's kind of a short aside. I thought my theory was that Sean McVay wants out because he knows that the Rams are screwed for the next 7 to 10 years or whatever.
Yeah, it's career.
I didn't really
stay.
buy into the burnt out thing, but watching him on the sideline against the Seahawks this past week, it was like that guy wants to be anywhere but there, which
Yeah.
could be. I mean, it goes along with it. It's a terrible situation there in LA now, but I don't think McVay's going to be coaching anywhere next year.
If you listen to the Athletic podcast, they talked about this. Robert Mays with Mike Sando. Sando's very well connected. He said that essentially that McVay is, I mean, anybody can tell McVay is wound incredibly tightly, and he's very just never stops. He's just constantly going. He like lives, eats, breathes everything, whatever his job is. And he's also recently married. So he's been basically just going nonstop for several years now. And he's only 36. So essentially he legitimately just needs time away. He's kind of hitting almost like a midlife crisis sort of a spot, and has all of this stuff all coming together at the same time. And legitimately may not want to navigate a full rebuild with a team like that. Like, they went all in, they borrowed from the future, they mortgaged the future, and they won a Super Bowl with it. And he's definitely going to coach again in the future, but I'm going to be very surprised if he's back. I think that he's going to step away. I mean, he's probably not making much more than maybe 10 or 12 million dollars as a head coach there. And if he wanted to go work in a studio right now,
Yeah.
like Tony Romo makes 18 million a year.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that he can get 12 to 15 million dollars to go work in a studio for a couple of years, and it's going to be way less work than being the head coach of a rebuilding franchise. It's probably going to be a lot more rewarding too. So if I had to put money on it right now, I would say that he steps away and Raheem Morris takes over as the head coach there.
And I think Raheem will do a good job. I mean, he was an interim in Atlanta. He was, I think, interim or maybe even full-time for a year in Tampa. Players love him. I think he has a sound football philosophy. Like, I think they would be making a mistake if, especially if Sean has any desire to step aside, take a break, whatever, because Raheem has put in the work. I mean, he's a lifer, and I think that they would be better for it.
Do you know what year, just off the top of your head, what years was he the head coach for Tampa Bay?
Let's see.
07 to 10.
No, I think that's too long ago.
Was it?
And then in the teens?
2009 to 2011.
Oh.
Okay, split the difference.
It's like, to me, he's still a young guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, 13 years ago, he's 46.
I was about to say, is he 47, somewhere in that ballpark?
Yeah, that's crazy.
They age so gracefully.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that chubby running back's name that they had? Was that during the same time? You know what I'm talking
about? Work done?
No,
No.
he was just short.
No. I remember who you were talking about. Hold on, it'll come to me.
Yeah.
In Tampa?
It was after Cadillac Williams.
Oh, I know who he.
It was
broke the running back touchdowns against the Raiders.
Yeah.
Doug Martin.
He had like two really good fantasy seasons.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the muscle hamster.
In one game.
I knew he was shaped weird.
Yeah, he was from Boise State.
Yeah. I think he wasn't involved in that punching incident.
That was LeGarrette Blount.
That's right. That was Blount. Yeah.
Who went and won like multiple Super Bowls in a row consecutively with different teams. Like won one year with the Patriots against the Rams, and won the next year with the Eagles against the Patriots. And then I think he won a third.
There's also, I think it was LeGarrette Blount who ran for like 200 yards against a team, and then he was late for a meeting, and the Patriots cut him the next week after.
Yeah.
And of course they brought him back, but
this is crazy. So Doug Martin was drafted in 2012. He was first team All-Pro 2015. He was a Pro Bowler twice, 2012 and 2015. That's it. So he played from 2012 to 2017, and then in 2018 he played for the Raiders, and then out of the league.
LeGarrette Blount did?
No. Doug Martin.
Oh yeah. We got him because he kicked our ass And
Yeah.
then, okay.
Like that's so
You can't
crazy that
kick-
he was like first team All Pro for 1 year. He also made the Pro Bowl once, other than that, and then those were like the only awards he ever had. And then he was out of the league. And he's born in 1989. He's 33, and he's been out of the league for 5 years now.
That's crazy.
Jesus. I just love that mentality. You can't kick our ass
I know.
on our bench.
Yes. Magoo, it doesn't always make sense with the silver and black.
Hey, man, I fucking follow it, dude. Trust me. I wish the Falcons had a little bit of that in them.
I hope this clip never comes to him. But didn't Larry Johnson only had like 2 really good years, right? And then it was just nothing before or after that.
He was also very good against the Raiders.
Was he?
Yeah.
I had some. This
had a
clip
few
is somehow
good
going to
years.
find his way to him, and he's going to accuse me if he's going to look at the
He's gonna
numbers
come
that I
fucking
said
just
it,
blap,
and
blap,
it's just
blap,
gonna be-
Sorry. I'm just saying he has a track record.
Yeah.
Anywho,
I think probably the most interesting opening right now is Carolina.
Are you talking about females? No, that was terrible. I don't know who she is. I
Never
don't
met
know
her.
Yeah.
They're.
I mean, let's hope so. Anyway,
They really the one thing that they need is a quarterback. So they've got their offensive line is actually quite good. Their running game
Yes.
was very good this year.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of really interesting young defensive players. They've got DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall's coming on. They've got a decent amount of draft capital this year. They've got hold on here. Where am I at? They've got the 9th overall pick. I don't know.
and that's right behind the Falcons.
Yeah.
So if I could see where they would want to trade up potentially for a place, because I think it's between the Falcons and the Panthers
That's Larry
for the
Johnson's.
quickest rebound in the NFC South. I think the Saints are they got enough talent, but they don't really have a lot of wiggle room. I think the
How are you
Panthers
watching that, bud?
I think the Falcons and Panthers are going to be the 2 teams to watch out of the NFC South for making moves this offseason. Buccaneers, and it's going to take Tom leaving to make that one interesting. I think they're pretty well settled in.
He's leaving.
Otherwise. But those are just gut feelings. I haven't looked into any of that shit.
We'll get to it, Justin. Jeez.
Justin, you know how this
Chill
goes.
out.
Calm down, Grandma.
We riff for an hour and then we're edging you.
It would be fun. That's good. I think it would be fun if everyone here did an imitation of Justin saying, "Are y'all going to talk playoffs or what?" If we can all use his voice.
I think you should
can't.
start.
Yeah. Show
Your
us the
idea.
way.
Well,
Yeah.
I've never tried it, so my first time on the mic might sound strange.
Are y'all going to talk playoffs or what?
Perfect. Nothing needs to be said
What?
after that. I would
We're all
I would do you
dumbasses. Nobody cares about this.
hurry up. I gotta go feed my goats.
All right, Matt.
I love you, Justin. You're the fucking man.
I think he's referring to Buck here.
I used to have a good imitation of Matt too, but I haven't done it in a long time.
Oh well.
I can't. It's been too long. So it was back when he was in his hot water with libertarian superstars. I used to have this stick I would tell my wife.
And Dave needs to realize that he's got.
No, I see. I can't even do it anymore.
That he's part of the problem. Oh,
Oh man.
I love this Venn diagram that we fucking exist in. Oh shit.
Any other off-season stuff?
Well, hopefully they're investing another fucking $1 billion into SoFi Stadium to make that bitch waterproof. I don't know if y'all caught that on Monday, but what a freaking embarrassment.
I did
I
not.
know
want-
LA doesn't get a lot of rain, but
Right.
jeez.
It's way below. I suppose what would be considered sea level though, because it goes down.
So
Was
I
it
think
was it true that it was only raining on TCU fans, or was that a joke? on Twitter?
yeah.
This was fact.
All the
Really?
yes, all the Georgia
Oh
accounts
my
that I
God.
follow, and all the degenerate ones where they show what was actually happening in Athens, during the game as we were celebrating a natty. There was a mini riot that didn't get covered in Athens, and I'm just perplexed by that.
Do they burn
Mesmerized.
couches?
They were ripping bushes out of the ground, throwing it into the middle of the street, setting them on fire, and people were jumping it with cones on their heads. Girls were falling off of lampposts.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
They got fucking rowdy, which
Summer
surprised me.
2020 all over again. Just
Yeah.
flat.
Yeah, but the crowd.
It was a
Let's
little
just say the
different,
crowd was different.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I got
It
you.
wasn't Atlanta.
But no. Anyway, so at SoFi Stadium, it was raining so hard, I guess, and it was raining sideways that the opening that the rain was coming in from was just on the TCU fans.
That
Those
makes
poor
sense.
bastards. Georgia fans were perfectly dry
Oh,
and having the time of their fucking lives.
brutal.
TCU fans were just getting deluged for like 3/4 of the game by Mother Nature and our big dick. And apparently the concrete in the concourses there is like super finished and like super polished and had been
Oh,
gone
so
over.
slick.
They didn't build that structure with any anticipation of a possibility that you might have inclement weather in the middle of an event. And
Because there's never inclement weather in Southern California.
Right.
and now you're having biblical flooding in Cali. I think that's a sign, by the way. You know, probably should pay
Right.
attention to that. But there were reports of people just eating shit all over the
no.
stadium, just slipping and fucking just busting ass. A lot of the TCU fans were, because they were there in cowboy boots with no fucking traction, and they would hit a wet spot that you couldn't see because everything was wet, and they were just I mean, that stadium's probably going to get litigated into a new roof with all of the shit that happened because of that. I mean, $4+ billion building, not a good showing. Not as bad as the Superdome, having the lights go out for 30 minutes in the Super Bowl, but
Right.
pretty close.
Yeah, we played last year against the Chargers down there, I think on the opening weekend, and it was lightning, and they stopped the game for like 45 minutes for a lightning delay, and it's like there's a cover over the freaking stadium. Like, well, there's this one opening over here, so that's what counts.
Yeah,
Crazy.
and that's where the rain came in. They were like, yeah, it's built just vulnerable enough to where Mother Nature can still play a role. And it's like, well, maybe just don't have an LED screen over the thing. Maybe actually make a roof. Like this technology exists. It's called a roof. They have it all over the place.
If they've dealt with it twice in the first couple of years, it's going to continue at some point. Even though, like Matt said, that is weird to picture in Southern California, but I guess it happens.
It's funny in Southern California when it rains, like if you get like a sprinkle, people freak out.
Yeah.
Like it trends on Twitter when there's a sprinkle there. LA rain will trend. And
Nice.
and part of the deal is that I didn't realize this until moving down there. So I came from Seattle, where 8 months of the year is rainy.
They freak out when it's dry.
Right? Yeah. The pavement in the roads, in the driveways, and everything in Seattle is actually made differently than it is in LA. So the pavement in Seattle, the asphalt is actually made with extra porousness, so the water drains like absorbs through it and drains off the road really quickly.
Yep.
They don't have it. It's the asphalt that they use in Southern California doesn't have that at all. So any water that falls on it just immediately just piles up. So you'll get instant like torrents flowing through the gutters, and it'll overflow the sidewalks really quickly, and it makes the roads really, really like slippery and snot.
Especially with all those
kind of a
mass
reason for him to freak
clogging up the drains. Yeah.
Yeah, and fucking like crackheads and stuff.
Mhm.
Well,
Amy told me shortly after we started dating, she told me about walking down the pier in Santa Monica and seeing a bum with one shoe on jerking off, just laying there in the middle of the pier.
But he had a
this
shoe.
is the
One
He had
perfect
that
segue.
shoe.
Perfect segue to Seahawks versus San Francisco.
Kind of is.
Fucking nice. That was your best Justin
That was
impersonation, by the way. That was a king of
Thank
segues
you.
right there.
Matt, do the Seahawks have any shot?
Yep.
Okay.
Go after Brock Purdy. We
I
caught
think
him out of bed.
I think that there's a reason that they are like 10-point underdogs or whatever. I haven't seen what the line is recently, but I don't think they have a huge shot. But
9.5.
So it's moved in the Seahawks direction a little bit. I think it opened, or at least a few days ago, was at 10.5. Part of it is that when you play the same team 3 times in one season,
Yep.
it's pretty difficult for this to have the same team win that game all 3 times.
Yeah.
Because even within the NFL, the gap from the best team to the worst team isn't that significant. You see great teams lose to bad teams all the time. And then in this particular case, you have the division rivalry, and it's not just a division rivalry, it's one of the most heated division rivalries. So part of the issue is the Seahawks are pretty banged up coming into this, and the 49ers are not. The 49ers are getting like every lucky injury break they could possibly get. So they've got Deebo Samuel coming back right now. Basically, everybody else is healthy. They've got Elijah Mitchell is back. So the 49ers are pretty well stacked. But there's probably, I mean, the two teams know each other better than any other teams know each other. Like, nobody knows the 49ers like the Seahawks do, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So really, it's going to come down to Geno Smith. He's the one who's going to dictate the outcome of the game. And if you get first half of the season Geno, which really is less about Geno and more about the performance of the rest of the offense around him. Because if the guy's open, he'll throw it to him. If Geno is holding onto the ball and not throwing it, it's because people aren't getting open. Having Tyler Lockett back is going to be a big deal. And then assuming they can build on the trajectory that they've had over the last few games with Kenneth Walker, they can become a fairly difficult offense to contend with. However, the 49ers defense is one of the best defenses in the league. I mean, not just this year, but for a lot of years. So I think if I had to put money on it right now, I would put money on the 49ers. But this year, every time I have picked against the Seahawks, they've won. And every time that I've picked the Seahawks, they've lost. So I'm going to say I think this is the other thing going on in the back of my head here is like, yeah, hey, it's cool to have like a deep playoff run and all that. And it would be great for the kids. And, you know, nobody expected the Seahawks to make the playoffs this year anyways. So, you know, the season's already a win. And I'm looking at this draft capital. Like already the Seahawks are going to be at, I think they're at 20 for their native pick. Yeah. So if they lose and Tampa Bay lose this weekend, then Tampa Bay would be picking earlier than the Seahawks. So the highest the Seahawks can pick is 20th.
Oh, and I think you mean indigenous pick.
Yes, indigenous people's pick.
I just need a dick.
So like I don't want to see that number creeping up anymore. So I'm kind of like, okay, cool, you made the playoffs, you got your you know, point proven, well done, good job. All right, let's have the season end now. Because also if you have any other major starters that go down with an injury now, then there's a good chance that lasts into next season. And I'd rather just kind of batten down the hatches and pull up stakes and have the season end. So for that reason, I'm going to pick the Seahawks to win this.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Ooh.
I'll say something like 27-24.
This is going to be like a Seahawks over the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was that Carroll's first year?
Second year.
Second
Maybe his
year.
first year. Yeah.
It was the year after the Saints had won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the
Worst
Beastquake game.
year of football ever was the year prior. Just fuck the Saints. Yeah, I mean, to me, this one seems pretty clear cut. Like I was running a lot, or I say a lot. Two of the most important positions, quarterback 1 and RB 1, Geno Smith and Kenneth Walker. The majority of the year in fantasy, they did me good in the beginning, and then they started to kind of give me that painful feeling downstairs, chafage. And I was like, why are you still doing this to me? Please stop. And they wouldn't quit. They kept just not being cool. And the 49ers just kept scoring a lot. And they showed me that even with injuries that they had depth, and now they're getting all of those guys back. And it's at home. I mean, unless it's raining still in San Fran when this game happens, and then anything could happen at that point. You know, there's a reason why the ball is oblong and odd shaped and can bounce in very odd directions. Anything can happen if it's going to be a fucking deluge. But if
Levi's Stadium historically has the shittiest turf in the NFL.
Yeah, it's surprisingly bad, especially for being open air. I don't know what that's all about. Get those winemakers down there and get that fucking grass growing. But yeah, I got Niners, and I think they cover. I think that this is going to get a little bit ugly, and it's only because of kind of piggybacking on what you said. I think the Seahawks have been playing with house money because nobody expected anything out of them anyway, and you had a little magic this year, much in the way of TCU. You come up against somebody who is just deeper than you, more talented than you, and really was like a Super Bowl or bust kind of a team, especially the way that their season ended last year, the way it did. I see them being on a war path, and I just think the Seahawks are just the first team that they have to bludgeon to get to the next guy. And I don't even think it's that much more, in depth than that. I think Purdy is more than formidable to carry out and execute their offensive game plan, that you don't even need to rely on them, though. With all the other weapons they have, they can do quick little simple dump offs. Kittle's there, Debo's there. You got the backs. I don't see how this goes any other way than 49ers.
Yeah. Matt, you alluded to it earlier, but I don't know what Geno's first half of the season versus second half of the season stats splits are, but
A lot more interceptions in the second half.
it seems like there's been a downward trend. So, yeah, I think I'm going with 49ers. And to what Magoo said, I think that Purdy's going to go like 17 for 20 in this game, and he's going to not throw the ball more than 7 yards down the field. It's still going to be fine.
Yeah, he will not surpass 285 yards passing.
Yeah.
He won't need it.
You won't need it. I agree. I think they got it 30-20, and Christian McCaffrey, that is one good-looking man. So, and he's a beast. He's my new man crush.
Just the way he said it.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, if
His
this
voice
game lasts more than
everything.
if this game lasts more than 4 hours, I got to have my cardiologist on speed dial.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a thought. Right now, I think the leader in like the player that's most likely to be voted offensive rookie of the year is Kenneth Walker. I think I would probably take Garrett Wilson over him, but voters like seeing running backs, and Walker, 1,050 yards and 9 touchdowns. As a rookie, those are good numbers.
Yeah.
Even with a game or two out due to injury, he didn't play every game.
Yeah. I think he missed 2 games.
Yep.
Then with Garrett Wilson, I mean, he had to play with Zach Wilson and Joe Flacco and Mike White, and put up the numbers he did with that. But here's my thought is, if Brock Purdy is the quarterback for the 49ers all the way through to the Super Bowl, and whether they win or lose the Super Bowl, assuming they make the Super Bowl, then as of right now, he's played 6 games. If they go to the Super Bowl with him, he would have 10 games total for the season.
I like where you're going.
He's 6-0 right now.
Yeah.
If they win the Super Bowl, he's 10-0 as a starter. If they lose, he's 9-1. either way, is 10 games as the starter, including the playoffs and the Super Bowl. Is that enough for him to be a candidate for Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Yes,
Yes.
because you could easily say those last handful of games were against. Well, it's empirically true that it's against the best teams in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and just to continue that statement, maybe this first game, the game plan doesn't fall on his shoulders to win the game, but eventually, if he were to make it to the Super Bowl, it
Would have
will.
to. Yes.
Mhm.
And so if he is responsible for game-winning action in live playoff postseason, taking live rounds, absolutely. And I think that you will see very quickly the media mechanism go from Mr. Irrelevant to absorbing him and building him up and making stories about him that they'll play, in every pregame, lead up to the thing. And maybe it's a little recency bias for me. I see a lot of the Stetson Bennett lineup just waiting on him. He's good enough to do it. He's got the surrounding cast to do it. And if he's called upon and he answers that call and is successful, 1,000,000%, he will slingshot his way to that award.
Yep. And he should.
They can't wait to drape him with all of the accolades if he does what he could do.
They could milk that story for months into the offseason.
Correct. Oh, should we reconfigure what Mr. Irrelevant really is now?
Yeah.
It'll totally rebrand that last pick.
The whole
And
headline
then-
would be Mr. Relevant.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Exactly. Get the IR out of there or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it will absolutely screw the next 7 years of Mr. Irrelevance, because then
And
they will
look
be
who
held
it
up
is
to
this year. The guy's like, oh shit.
son of a bitch. I'm just a punter.
Yeah.
I can't even throw the ball. Next game I got, if we're all looking at the same chart,
Yep.
Chargers at Jaguars.
This one's good. I already know what Matt's gonna pick, and I'm with him on this one.
Oh,
Saying all year,
Uh,
Chargers are going to Chargers. And I just saw some analysts this morning. I watched the Broncos Chargers game because I'm always interested in the West. I just saw an analyst say, well, the Chargers are really on fire at this moment. No, they're not. Mike Williams and the other receivers whose name is slipping my mind. Keenan Allen are not ever reliable. They never are. I'm always scared when we play them, and then one of them's gone, or both of them are gone, or one gets hurt during the game. That was stupid of the coach to start to keep them in the game when they didn't need to be in there. But now he's hurt. So the Chargers, that coach, Boy Blunder, they just do stupid things. And now the Jaguars are on fire. And I think Matt's right on his early season pick on them. That quarterback is Trevor Lawrence looks amazing right now. That coach, I just like them. And I'm a little biased because I work with a diehard Jaguars fan, and I hate the Chargers, but I think the Jaguars are coming out on this one on top.
I think if we could make a comparison to go back to Jay Forte's comment about McCaffrey coming from good breeding stock, I think we can take the complete antithesis of that with the Chargers coach. He comes from the absolute lowest level dog shit breeding stock. You can tell because his brain doesn't work.
Yeah.
The man is mentally just, how did you get here?
Yeah.
Stop. He's already dead.
How does he even access the building? Like it can't just be a key card. It has to be like, just, you know how like they have handprints or whatever? I think they just have like a full wall plate where he just has to run into it, and like they just read his body. He's that ill-equipped to do simple tasks.
Imagine a good coach with the Chargers talent. Imagine you have Justin Herbert, and you just, I mean, I get it, winning 10 games is good, but I mean, you have to me, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I hate to say it because we have him for the next 10 years against us, but he's something else. And that coach, what a disaster in my opinion.
Receiving core they have, the tight ends they have, Austin Eckler in the background, backfield, the leading receiving
line. Yeah, Mac Bosa. Right.
How is it 10-7 and not
safety?
17-0? Like,
correct.
I don't understand it. You had to actively fuck up to get that record.
Yeah,
With
picture
the-
Andy
with-
Reid with. I mean, it'd look similar to Andy Reid now, but if he had a quarterback, yeah, that's a bad that's a bad analogy 'cause he doesn't sound like that. But think of an amazing coach with Justin Herbert. It's a big difference, I think.
So are you picking the
Underwhelming.
Jags too, Magoo?
Yeah, underwhelming. If I worked for a newspaper and I was coming up with a headline for the majority of Chargers games, even wins, underwhelming.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, yeah, give me the Jags. I really dig what they got going on. I like their quarterback a lot. I like their coach even more. Their defense, I think, has gelled to a point where they might give up. They're going to give up yards. They might give up points, but they are going. I think that for Saturday, that's going to be the wildly, far and away, easily the most entertaining and competitive game in the early rounds. And Jaguars at home, Duval, baby. Let's fuck it. I'm with the Jags.
Did you see the tweet that I posted in the chat or a little bit? You guys probably already started by then. A friend of mine, a mutual of mine, who's a Jaguars fan, he's actually one of the only, maybe the only outright, like out and proud Stalinists that I've ever known.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like
Does he
he's
know
a
you're
legit.
Orthodox?
What?
Does he know you're Orthodox?
We're kind of just sort of aware of each other. Like we like each other's tweets from time to
There's a
time.
bad history there.
Yeah. But he's like, so he's
Are
like,
we
he's a communist, and he's like, yes, I'm a communist.
At least he
very
admits it, I suppose.
Right. Yeah. He's a very, very nice guy. Very, I mean, incredibly autistic. Like he would say he is, just like posts like long screeds, and he's like, no, he's going to read this, but I have to get it off my chest. Anyways, he also is a great upright bass player. So he plays like jazz and like stuff. Interesting guy. Anyways, he posted 5 years ago that he said if the Jags win the division, then I will get a 50-piece McDonald's or a 50-piece chicken McNuggets order and make it into a milkshake and drink it. And so he just posted a video of himself doing it, and it's pretty gnarly. He like,
wow,
it's gross.
He should go back in time and show that to the communist regime with the people in the food lines.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So if
Well,
you go
drink
if you go
up.
back, there's a video of him.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Is this
he
a video
did it.
or is it just a picture?
If you scroll down, he has the video in the thread.
Is this it?
Yep.
Oh,
This poor bastard. I love it. I fucking
All
love
right, y'all.
it.
It's time for me to face the music. Duval till I die, which might be right now.
that's chicken nuggets ground up in there.
With milk.
Oh fuck.
Get out.
There's a perfect face for a commie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I way underestimated the amount of milk I was going to need. This is real chunky.
He's chewing.
It's hard to explain. I actually didn't think this was going to be that gross.
What did you expect?
Yeah,
It's
it's
hard to explain.
kind of appetizing.
Drink it is literally like.
That's me
Vomiting
reading
in
Karl
the
Marx. That's funny.
Oh my God.
Oh,
He actually looks about how you'd expect a full-on communist to look.
oh God.
Three
Never making
eyebrows, one's under
bed
his nose.
again.
He looks like he just spent a night with Urban Meyer.
This is just based.
He may have. That
Oh
was
my
like
God.
fun first, but
Sorry, I'm at a loss for words. I don't know
He's gonna get
what to
sick.
say, and I might have to shave after this.
What?
nice.
Yeah.
So,
that's from
so for that reason,
Ooh.
Matt is choosing the Jags. That's what's coming.
They're making
I was
communist.
gonna say, so for that reason, I'm choosing the Chargers.
Yeah.
You know, I'm actually, this game is kind of tough for me because obviously I've been calling the Jags number all year and been expecting this. But I also really like the Chargers. I don't really have a strong opinion about Brandon Staley. I think he's got a weak chin. The last year, he actually was really making a mark by being really aggressive on fourth downs and going for 2 and that kind of thing. And so all the analytics guys were like, "Oh, finally, our wonder child." And then he's
yes, he is special.
Stop.
That is right.
And this year he's just made just inexplicable decision after inexplicable decision. I don't know that he's long for that, and I don't know that might not be the best thing for Justin Herbert. So this is I really enjoy both these teams. I love both the quarterbacks. And this is probably the closest to a true pick'em to me of all of the games this weekend. But I'm going to stick with the Jags. I went back and I found my predictions from earlier this year and pulled them out to see how I turned out. So these are my division winners for the NFC: 49ers,
Check.
Eagles,
Check.
Saints, and Packers.
Not check.
My wild cards were Cowboys, Seahawks, and Buccaneers.
Wow. Okay.
Nice.
So I had
nobody saw the Giants either, so you're good there.
So the Giants and who else was I wrong on? Oh, the Vikings, Giants and Vikings. I didn't get. And then in the AFC, my division winners were the Ravens and the Bills and the Jaguars and the Broncos. Then the wild cards were the Bengals, the Chiefs, and the Chargers. So
one team out.
Yeah, I just missed who. So who did I miss? It was
Miami.
So,
Miami. Yeah.
And that's barely. I mean, if that counts, who are they starting with QB?
Yeah, so the Chiefs were the AFC West representative, and then
right.
Miami was the other team there. And then I had the Bengals as a wild card team and the Ravens winning the division, and they had a play-in game.
And then just swap Green Bay and the Giants, and you're pretty much perfect.
Yeah. And then I said NFC Championship game. I didn't try to predict everything. I just said NFC Championship game is 49ers versus Eagles, and AFC Championship game I said Broncos versus Jaguars. And then for the Super Bowl I said Eagles versus Broncos. So I'm basically hosed from here on out. But
I had the Rams in the Super Bowl, so
what's that?
See,
I had the Rams in the Super Bowl, so I don't even want to.
See, I won't have this feeling until March when we start doing March Madness brackets. This is a familiar feeling. Like, I got 75% of it right, but the 25% is the one who made the Final Four. And I fucking hate basketball for another 9 months. But anyway, this is not a basketball podcast.
So who'd you end up doing
this one?
Matt, you did go with Jaguars?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going Jags. Everyone else went Jags. I'm going to go with the Chargers.
There's your libertarian in you. Be the contrarian.
Still there.
It's barely there. It's just that much. But I love Herbert too.
But I don't want to use force to make you think differently.
I can't even.
Sorry, continue. I gotta mute myself.
I can't focus. I don't have any other reasons other than Herbert, because Jacksonville is like top 5 as far as home field advantage too, right?
Dude, if their mascot comes out in a thong, it's a guaranteed fucking win. I mean, there are some like obscure stats that it's just to give me.
They got a pool in their stands, so
they do, and some wild shit goes down in that pool.
Yeah,
it's pretty
a lot of grease.
I mean, it's fucking Duval County. Like,
that's
about all you have to say.
I'm going with Herbert outplaying Lawrence in this game, and I'm just going to keep it as simple as that.
All right.
I was just to have it on the record, for whatever it's worth, I was this close to that exact take. So when the Chargers inevitably win, I knew they were. I knew it. Yeah. I was going to call it.
Called it.
Also, not to take it right back to college football, but fuck it, that's what I'm here for. There's a stat that came out that over the last, I think, 8 consecutive national championships in college football, the starting quarterbacks have been from Georgia. You got Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Jake Fromm, Stetson Bennett, and I'm probably missing a couple, but they rung it all the way out for like the last night. And Trevor Lawrence was there, and he played ball just an hour up the road, if that, not even. And so I'm a little more tied to the domestic pull of that, which also just happens to coincide with, I think the coach is just smarter and not going to arrive to the stadium in a short bus. So I appreciate your role, Mark, having to be the contrarian here, but I can't. I hope I get to dunk on you hard with that pick. We ready to move on to the next game?
Let's do it.
Dolphins going up north. I'm pretty sure
this
this isn't one of those neutral site games, not yet, because it ain't the AFC Championship game. Dolphins heading up north in fucking January to go to Buffalo and play their division rival Bills for the tiebreaker of the season. Obviously, we remember that the Bills went down to Miami and got fucking smoked when the heat on the field was like 122 degrees American. And then the Dolphins went up to Buffalo and a late game whiteout. The best kind of games, if you ask me. You can question me later on why. And now they have to go back up to Buffalo to make their stamp with their third string quarterback. And I don't even think this needs to be a very long run. Tua, to my knowledge, still isn't cleared.
Yeah, I think our only contrarian is here in the comments section.
Fans have this one. I like that, Jay Forte.
Hey,
Jay,
man.
I would like to know his, by the way, and I apologize for the interruption, Magoo, but that quarterback is not still in they're saying he's in protocol. There's no way. It was before.
He was ruled out.
Yeah, I know, but that's
They
not
already
why.
announced that Skylar Thompson is going to be starting.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something else going on. I suspect he will not be back with the Dolphins. Okay.
Yeah, I think this game's going to be NSFW.
Damn it, Jay. Don't ever back down. Fuck that. That's your team. You stand by them. You sink or swim with them. Never apologize for your pick.
There's a player and upper management deal going on with Tua, and I think he's done as a Dolphin. And I
agree.
I think they're done, and this game will be like Georgia and TCU.
I think Tua might be done as a player.
Could be. It's two serious concussions. I know I'm kind of being flippant about.
And I mean, really, it'd be 3.
Yeah. So I'd be scared if I were him, to be quite honest, about my future health. And I wouldn't want him on my team to see him go through that. But I think there's some kind of contentious issue with him and the coaching staff or the execs or something. So I suspect he's done. But
there's been a lot of shadowy shit around Tua ever since he became a Dolphin. You know, they were trying to tank. They never bought into Tua. You had a very large, canyon between front office and coaching staff on if, front office wanted Tua because of what he did in college. They didn't give a shit about how that translated to NFL, much less that he was being drafted, still being injured with his hip, just being displaced his senior season, and he never really fully recovered from that. And then
once Bo Jackson injury.
Exactly. And once you're making up for one injury, you're susceptible to multiple others that are potentially vastly worse, especially when you're trying to protect one aspect of your game. You're vulnerable to 67 different ways of, fucking around and finding out. And I think that the Dolphins have internally already moved on from him. It is sad. It really is fucking sad for Tua as a person, but this is a business. And we don't have room for this here. You did good, pat on the head. You're going to be fine financially, but he's got a baby brother at Maryland that might come in and help the family out. We'll see. But I don't think this is a game that has any. I don't think any deciding metric is on the Dolphins side here. Like there's no combination of players that they currently have on their staff with the complete and utter drop off of talent and quarterback that's going to make this even a game. Buffalo's favored by 13 points. Last time I saw this shit, it was 65-7. So whoever said this could turn into a TCU like outing. I mean, I was having a debate with my neighbor who's not only a Bama fan, but also a diehard Dolphins fan. And he wanted so badly for the Dolphins to make it into the playoffs. And I asked him, I was like, why? But why though? Really? Like, what are you going to gain by just having a playoff appearance? And he thought it was for the protection of the coach decision to make sure that he's insured another 3 years. I understand that, but I don't think he would have ever gotten hit with any negative attention if the team that currently takes the field the last 3 weeks of this season missed the playoffs. I don't think that you can hold him to account. Like, no one has a third string quarterback most times, other than the 49ers, with any hope or plans for postseason success.
Right.
So
there were rumors going around a few weeks ago that Mike McDaniel's job was on the line if the Dolphins didn't make the playoffs, and which is fucking preposterous.
yeah,
But I think it's likely because of the owner, and the owner wants Sean Payton. He wants Sean Payton, and he wants Tom Brady,
yeah.
which is partly why he's not enamored with Tua,
Mhm.
and I think why McDaniel is got a short leash. And really, it's just a meddling owner that if it goes that way, it's not going to be any reflection on McDaniel. I don't think. I think that I said several weeks ago that I see big Sean McVay, Jared Goff vibes with McDaniel and Tua. And I think it's been playing out that way, which doesn't even get into the Tua concussions issue and everything as well. But I think that I wouldn't be surprised if they get absolutely shellacked in this game if Mike McDaniel gets fired.
Mhm.
And I don't think it should, but I think it would be because the owner is a dipshit. And was it Stephen Ross? Is that his name?
Yes.
And he's trying to lure Sean Payton to come over, and which, if you're Sean Payton, do you want to go join the AFC East
Right.
and play against the Patriots and the Bills and the Jets? Even if the Patriots and the Jets are where they are right now, both of them have phenomenal defenses,
Yeah.
and they're each like a quarterback away from being very, very good.
I was going to say both those teams are one draft away from making a deep run
Yes.
because they have all the other components. I mean, if you saw the Jets defense, that is a postseason winning formula.
They're not
They've
far
already
off
got
the 49ers defense this year.
No. Same thing with the Patriots. The Patriots really stepped it up. The way they stepped it up over the last 60% of the back end of the season, I think.
Matt Patricia really grew in that offensive coordinator role.
He sharpened his pencils. He sharpened his pencil.
Did you see Bill when he was asked about that? Tom Curran asked Bill Belichick. He said, you went into this, you named this kind of like the dual offensive coordinators kind of thing with Matt Patricia, and was it Joe Judge? Was that who the two were? And he said, a lot of us basically we're like, what is he doing? This doesn't make any sense at all. Can you go into that? And Joe said, well, every decision that I made because I thought it was in the best interest of the team. I thought it was, no matter what, the reason I make any decision is because I think that at the time that I make that decision, I think it's, the best decision for the sake of the Patriots franchise. And that's how it's always going to be. So he says, you can have your different opinion, and, or you can have your opinion of the decisions I made. And I respect that. And I appreciate that. I know that's your job, but just know that every time I made a decision, it was because I was doing what I thought at the time was in the best interest of the team. And someone shared it, and they were like, this is the closest that this motherfucker is ever going to get to saying, yeah, that was stupid, I messed up.
At the time. That's
At the time.
Yeah.
And to answer Jay Forte, I don't know if I wasn't aware that there was flack given for that. For one, I can answer Kenny Stabler. And Kenny Stabler was also left-handed, and I think that he had said that there was shit given to who could be good for a left-handed quarterback out of Alabama. Kenny Stabler, the Snake, is a Hall of Famer.
There it is. Magoo, you mentioned mini Tua or mini his little brother earlier. I always felt bad for that guy. His family moved to Tuscaloosa when Tua was there.
That's where the League of the South sat, baby.
And then when Tua goes to Miami, they move to Miami while poor Talia is up there hanging out with Mike Loxley alone in Maryland.
Well, it's because nobody wants to be in
No one
Maryland.
wants to be in Maryland. It's fair.
No. I
And
actually
they
have-
knew which of the brothers was the most talented.
Yeah,
But now-
well, they made them. They know what they got.
Might be their only hope.
That's I wouldn't want to put all my chips on that table. That's all I'm saying.
No. But anyway, we all picked the Bills.
No contrarians.
No libertarians in that pick.
Mm-mm.
We are unified. We're a unified front.
I do hate to say this, but since he was brought up earlier, I
Mhm.
hate to go all Larry Johnson, but Kobe Bryant dies, the Lakers win the championship. They haven't been to the playoffs since. I know nobody has died, but it just feels like the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl this year. That's all I'm going to
DeMar
say.
Hamlin reference.
He
Yeah.
died
I
briefly.
mean,
Yeah.
He
just
died.
hammer, just wedge that. I mean, his career did.
Yeah.
They're saying that there's a good chance he makes it back.
Well, let's be honest though. Like in all honesty, would there be any different? Okay, hold on. Let me try to figure out words. Would there be any difference in the coverage and the unified? Everybody changed their avatar picture. Had he died, like
No.
there's the outcome that we're about to witness and that we have witnessed up to this point is no different as though he actually died. And I think that that's why you don't want to play the Bills because, and Matt, I said this last week, you don't want to face a team with a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose should be want to pursue excellence. That's something I also said before you came on tonight. But you couple that with this arbitrary, emotional, we're all backing you, pray for Buffalo, all this hashtag bullshit. It's going to give them a false fuel that I wouldn't want to fuck with Buffalo at all, just because of the emotionality, if that's even a word, that is now going to be permanently associated with this 2022 Buffalo Bills team.
Well, you just pissed Matt off.
And yeah, I think
flew
our
him.
show is about to blow up now because we just
I flew him right the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
But no, like it's as just a sports fan to watch when there's like a special moment, like the Saints playing in the Superdome after Katrina, and they just play. They break every record, no demand, team and conference or whatever.
Brett Favre after his father died in Oakland. Yikes.
It's that shit over and over. And I think it's like, obviously we'll make our picks. We'll have our fun with the show, but I'm going to go out early on a limb saying that I think that the Bills have the full mechanism behind them for the storybook ending, pre-written, because of what happened to DeMar Hamlin, that almost takes the competitiveness out of most of these matchups when they involve the Bills. Because I just don't think that they can allow, and now I'm coming back to my conspiracy-minded pick, but I was fucking pretty good that week 2 weeks ago. Steelers still didn't end with a losing record. I think the Bills just have that golden or platinum horseshoe up their ass that the NFL is going to make sure that they're in the best spot to win. And with this whole neutral site AFC championship, if the Bills and the Chiefs were to make it to that, Atlanta, I think right now is the forefront, the leading location for that. Indy can't do it because they have a volleyball tournament. They already turned down Detroit. They turned down Chicago.
Yeah.
They turned down outdoor stadiums because they want it to be weather neutral. Dallas will likely be playing
they can't do it. Correct, right.
And New Orleans, Superdome still getting penalized due to the power outage.
Vegas.
Atlanta is the leading. If Vegas had odds, Atlanta's damn near a shoe-in. So boys want to come on down and we'll go to an AFC championship team and root against both teams?
Yeah, you couple the Hamlin stuff with how the Chiefs and the Bills game went last year, and is that extra motivation.
Yeah.
All that said, they won't need their lucky horseshoe this week.
No, they will not.
No magic will be seen this week because the game will probably be over by first half.
Josh Allen will
Second
be
half.
sat at some point in this game.
I'll tell you a team that will need its lucky horseshoe, and that will be the Giants when they go back to Minnesota, place that they were just at, I think, on Christmas Eve, if my memory serves me correctly, where they got, and maybe my memory's off here. Didn't they get thoroughly throttled by the Vikings on Christmas Eve when the Giants went to Minnesota?
I think that was a game where that kicker on the Vikings ended up winning like the 6th game for them as a game-winning field goal. I'm not positive, but I think it was. He's won 6 in the last few seconds.
I shall check.
And he's
Giants and Vikings. No, yeah, it was a 27-24 win for the Vikings. Never mind.
Yeah,
I stand corrected.
I don't even remember this game.
That was a good one. By the way, for what it's worth, I have the Vikings.
Yeah.
In this. I don't. The Giants are one of those teams, and I know people say this, and we have about the Vikings because they kept winning close games. And if we do that thing, if they switched it, all the teams that lost by so much versus won by so much, Vikings would be on the bottom.
Yeah.
But I think the Giants would be on the bottom too. So I pick the Vikings here. For whatever reason, I don't pay enough attention to the Giants, but I don't have faith in them.
I don't understand their receiving core. I don't understand how you trade away Kadarius Toney and expect to win when you're supposed to be professionals at, judging talent. The Giants have surprised me. I think they've very much played above their ability, and I think a lot of that goes to coaching. I think they are very well, and they're in very good hands with the coaching staff that they have. But the Vikings, talent-wise, I mean, this is a 4:30 game, so the primetime
there it is.
The primetime mechanism shouldn't come into play here.
We need that belt thing.
The Giants have been a interesting story, I guess, but the whole season I've just been ready for them to go away, and I think they go away this weekend. Like they don't strike me as a team that can make a run. They don't even strike me as a team with the Eli-led Giants that, the 2 times they made the Super Bowl and they were the wild card team. They don't even look like that. I don't foresee. I can't. If the Giants win this game, then the NFC is just wide the fuck open because I know nothing about football anymore. The Vikings should throttle them at home.
I think I see in Matt's eyes that he's going to pick the Giants. I'm not going to pick the Giants. I don't trust Kirk Cousins, but
You're just tired of being libertarian.
I trust Daniel Jones less than I trust Kirk Cousins, and that's why. And also the Vikings are at home, so I'm going to pick the Vikings. And Matt, Buck, did you pick yet?
Vikings.
And Matt will now tell us why he's picking the Giants.
He's looking at like DVOA and all this.
Dude, he's
stuff.
got percentages that none of us have even fucking fathomed.
You guys see that glimmer? I'm not.
You guys are.
Right?
It's kind of creepy how much you guys are reading me.
I respect the absolute shit out of that.
Yeah, you guys nailed everything. So, by DVOA, total DVOA this season.
Ding.
We're going to go from the bottom of the list here.
From the bottom,
number 32, Indianapolis. Number 31, Houston. Number 30, Chicago. Number 29, Arizona. Number 28, Carolina. Number 27, Minnesota. Minnesota are 13-4 this season, and their estimated wins based on their statistical performance, their offensive, defensive, and special teams efficiency throughout the year, they should have 6.3 wins. They're 13-4. Just for context, the teams immediately ahead of them are the Raiders, the Broncos, the Rams, the Titans, the Redskins, and the Giants. Giants are 21st. And so for the Giants, their 21st ranking is really in large part because of their offense. So the Giants have had a top 10 offense on the season, which is just a fucking miracle of coaching. Brian Daboll is amazing. Like Brian Daboll would be my pick for coach of the year. He's just coached his absolute ass off because they have the number 29th ranked defense and 22nd ranked special teams. Minnesota has the 20th ranked offense, 27th ranked defense, and 30th ranked special teams. This Vikings team is probably the most bizarre team that I've ever seen. I don't know how you can be the 6th worst team statistically in the league and be, what are they, the number 3 seed? They won 13 games. It's just, I mean, to some degree, you have to give credit where credit's due, that Kevin O'Connell has built a culture where they've been able to overcome the fact that they're not a very talented team, and they've played over their heads. Really, it's very appropriate that these two teams are playing each other because they're both like the exact same thing. Because the Giants are severely lacking in talent. Giants have more talent on the defensive side of things, which is funny because their defense is worse. But the Giants have played to a sum is or total is greater than the sum of the parts. And honestly, I think that the Giants are less talented than the Vikings, and yet they've still played over their heads. They've got a very good offensive line, very good defensive line. So in this particular case, I think that there's going to be an upset. There's going to be a lower seed that upsets a higher seed. And of all of the matchups, I think this is the most likely for that one. There's also the Cowboys and the Bucks, which I guess we'll get to here shortly. That's another lower seed upsetting a top seed. But then the Cowboys have been. We'll get into that in just a minute. But yeah, so I'm going to take the Giants to upset the Vikings at home.
The Vikings have only lost one home game all year
To Philly.
to Dallas.
Wow.
Dallas.
Now, it was atrocious.
Yes, it was.
But outside of that one lopsided 40-3 home loss, they're undefeated.
Wow.
This is also taking place in that same building, and I don't, correct me if
Was that insane Colts game?
that was also at home, and it was the largest comeback in NFL history. The Vikings also have a little bit of that horseshoe up their ass syndrome, with the one exception of being the Cowboys beating them 40-3 in their own building. The Giants, correct me if you think I'm wrong, are not the Cowboys. They don't have the defense of the Cowboys. They don't have the offense, whatever. This will be the second time that the Giants have come into that building. But when you're 8-1 at home, or 7-1, whatever it is, math, whatever, that stacks up pretty large in my mind. I didn't know that was their home record until while you were talking, Matt. I went through and I was like, well, I just want to look at, are they a home team and a poor road team? Because I agree with you. We've all said this. Justin said it. We've all said it. We're not really believers in the Vikings. But is there something that happens when they're at home that just doesn't translate on the road? And this not being a road game, that might not matter. I think having a damn near undefeated home record might stack up a little higher in the postseason. The crowd's going to be fucking nuts. And the Giants are going to have to prove it to me. And I'm ready to be wrong for at least 1 week.
Damn. That was on the spot. Beautiful analysis by Matt, and then the opposite side taken by Magoo. On the spot analysis. That was impressive from both people. Matt convinced me to start swaying towards the Giants, and Magoo said nah, and I said, yeah, I'm back with Vikings. That was good.
Well, it was point and then
well done.
Counterpoint.
Yeah.
Professionals up in this bitch.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We need at least two.
And you just came here for Jew jokes.
I'll sound like Hannity and Combs back in the day.
Oh, fuck. Which one are we?
I don't know how to segue into the
I'm the
Ravens
handsome
Bengals.
one.
I'm trying to think of a clever way to do it.
I'm the fat one.
Well, one's dead, so
Yeah, I feel like that inside sometimes.
yeah. Well, Hannity's dead inside. Combs is just dead.
Yeah.
Again, I asked the same question.
Ravens Bengals.
I mean, come on, really? They're playing in Cincy.
Yeah.
It's the Bengals.
Yeah.
Their turf, their building by itself is going to take out half the Ravens team. If you've paid attention to where the biggest injuries this entire year and for the last decade have taken place, it's on that field.
You're right.
And it's always the opposing team.
Antonio Brown got knocked out on that field, if I remember correctly.
Shazier broke his spine on that field.
Yeah.
If the Ravens can really ugly up
Tua
this
got
game,
fucking cripped up
Yeah.
on that
Bo
field.
Jackson got fucked up against the Bengals. Now I don't know I can't remember which stadium it was in, but yeah, interesting.
DeMar Hamlin had his heart stop on that field.
Yeah.
That field is the 12th, 13th, and 14th man.
is Lamar playing?
If he is, he's in fucking trouble. That field will murder him.
I think he has to. Like,
Yeah, he does.
they don't have a
he
prayer
has to.
without him.
No.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, that's going to be telling on where things are headed with them. Although I think they're
Mhm.
headed that way anyway. But it
Yeah.
feels like the Ravens are in an off season coming up that's full of like tumultuous, just dysfunction. Is just a feeling I get.
Yeah. Bengals by 1 million. I don't even need to give any other breakdown. The Ravens, I don't understand how they have double-digit wins, but
Here's
they're about-
how. They have the
Okay.
number 3 special teams and the number 7 defense, and that's in spite of the fact that they started the season as one of the worst defenses in the league.
Wow.
They traded for Roquan Smith. Someone I think Nate Tice tweeted out their splits with and without Roquan Smith. And that one player, a single linebacker, took them from like the 27th ranked defense to the 3rd ranked defense or something like that.
And where is he from, Roquan?
I don't know. That's an interesting thought.
Probably
Okay.
I'll
Georgia.
have to get back to you on that one.
Yep. Yeah, and he signed I think a 7-year, $100 million extension.
Mhm. Highest paid off-ball linebacker, I think, ever.
Money well spent. Obviously, won't get any contention from me. But the Ravens are fucking doomed. Like
If this game is,
Roquan's not covering receivers, and Bengals have receivers.
Mm-hmm. They've got
They're-
receivers out of their fucking armpits, man.
Yeah.
Like what the hell is a Trenton Irwin?
A guy who catches passes and fucking scores points. This is the easiest call I think of this weekend. For me, Bengals by 1 million. They're gonna.
So
win by
I'm
3
having a harder
touchdowns.
time with this because if this is like 10-10 at halftime, if the Ravens can continue to ugly up the game and force the Bengals to play their game, I could see this coming down to the wire. I'm going to pick the Bengals, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than the 8.5 point spread.
Usually division matchups are
Also the rivalry.
Yeah, these
aspect of
rivalries.
it, yeah.
Even Browns Bengals sometimes turns out to be, down to the end. I still say Bengals, but I'm more inclined to say that what Mark's saying is correct. It's going to be closer than we think, but it'd be interesting to watch the Ravens, how they're. I don't know. I hope Lamar plays. I'm kind of curious what he looks like at this point, but Bengals.
So the Bengals lost their first matchup back on October 9th.
It was a ugly, boring
19
game.
to 17. And that was back, I think, when Jamar Chase was out, had the hip flex or whatever. They didn't have their full.
T. Higgins didn't play either because I remember they said he was healthy before the game, and I had him in my fantasy starting lineup, and he did not play a single snap. And I was pissed off at the Bengals for weeks after that.
Yeah. And then what's kind of a bummer is that you have a playoff matchup that is an immediate repeat of the final week of the season, where this game just happened and the Bengals won 27 to 16. And you got to think that there's going to be the only difference is Lamar. If Lamar plays, how many points does that equate? What's up,
Look
dude?
at this guy.
Hell yeah. What's his
It's almost like the Georgia Bulldog, but he's just a French version.
I'll take
And his name's George, so it's close.
Nice.
done.
I thought you were about to put the headphones on him.
I'm gonna ship you a Georgia collar, just
Yes.
a Georgia Spike Squad collar.
That'd be great.
Put some spikes on that man. But no, literally, this game just happened January 8th,
Yeah.
and the Bengals won. and they won by 11 points. But how many points? I'll open it up to discussion. If Lamar plays, how many points is he worth? And does it exceed 11 points?
Yes. It has to for his future in a way. I mean, I think he is what he is, and people realize that. But if you can't exceed 11 points, that would not be very helpful.
Looking at the Bengals' schedule this year, so when they played the Ravens the first time and they lost that game, that took them to 2-3. That was their week 5. And if you listen to the Athletic podcast with Nate Tice and Robert Mays, they talk about the week 5 adjustments. That after week 5, the Ravens made some major adjustments on offense. Because up to that point, you remember the narratives that they were talking about was basically that all the teams were just playing cover 2 against them, that the Bengals didn't have any answer on offense. And then they started making adjustments, and they became one of the best self-scouting teams in the league. Since that game, they had the one really weird Thursday or Monday night game against the Browns where they just totally face planted. That's Halloween. The only game they've lost since then. So since that game against the Ravens, it went, they beat the Saints 30-26. They beat the Falcons 35-17. They lost to the Browns 32-13. They beat the Panthers 42-21. They beat the Steelers 37-30. They beat the Titans 20-16. They beat the Chiefs 27-24. They beat the Browns 23-10. They beat the Buccaneers 34-23. They beat the Patriots 22-18. The game was canceled against the Bills, and I think they
killed a guy.
Yeah, they killed a man, and then they beat the Ravens 27-16. They've been one of the best, the hottest teams in the league since then. Yeah, I'm with Magoo here. I think that they're going to, even if Lamar plays, I would pick the Bengals in this game by a touchdown.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt. Your check is in the mail.
Yeah, the Bengals, they just have different guys that can go off. Obviously, Chase can go off. Higgins could have a really big day. Mixon or P. Ryan could have a big game. So, and then obviously at the center of all that is Mr. Joe Cool himself.
Did you see his after the last game? They asked him something about the championship window for the team, and trying to take advantage of the championship window. And he said the championship window is my entire career. It was the coldest.
I love
thing.
that guy.
Yeah, it's because he's a ginger, right?
Yeah.
I gotta get out of here because
all right,
Eastwood's got to go to bed. So Cowboys Bucks. I think this one's fairly straightforward to me. I think that this is where Mike McCarthy shows he's Mike McCarthy, and the Cowboys fall on their face. And I remember, Mark, from the beginning of the season, you had predicted that the Cowboys were going to fall on their faces right out the gate. And it looked like that was going to happen. And then Cooper Rush suddenly revitalized them until Dak came back. And then they were great. And then over the last month or so of the season, they've been playing really poorly. They came out and they got absolutely bumfucked by the Redskins by Sam Howell.
By a one-shoe bum, a one-shoe wearing bum, just blood dunking right on their chin.
So yeah, I think that the game that the Bucks played, the Tommy Boy throwing for 490 yards or whatever, and 3 touchdowns, Mike Evans, I think that was a breakthrough.
I did, yeah.
So I'm going to take the Bucks here. I think that you're going to get playoff Tom Brady. I think that Mike McCarthy is going to, he's going to be the Grinch revealing himself, and every Cowboys fan is going to be ruining the day that Mike McCarthy took over.
And I think they're all down, the ones I know at least, on Dak at this point. There's some that I know that want Cooper Rush back.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Did you see what happened in Washington last week? There was no reason for them to lose that game the way they did as well.
I have the same take as Matt. It's playoff Brady is going to beat the Brandon Staley and pads, which is Dak Prescott.
See you guys.
Later, Matt.
I remember how the Cowboys season ended last year.
Yes. Yeah. With just stupidity.
Boneheaded Dak.
Yeah. I think the last thing, it sounds so weird considering how they've played, but the last thing a lot of NFC teams wanted was to see the Bucks make the playoffs because of who's at QB.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first domino falls this weekend, and it's the Cowboys going down.
Totally agree. This game has already been played out. If you don't remember, week 1, Sunday night game, Buccaneers went to Dallas, beat them 19-3. Now the Cowboys go to Tampa, and playoff Tom, I think, supersedes playoff Dak. And I think that history is on my side here. And I hate to be that guy saying that line. I'd never want to say that line ever again. But Tom Brady has 20 years of doing this. Dak hasn't proven anything in the postseason. This is normally when he snaps a bone and is out for the next 12 months. Not wishing any of that on him, but he is injury prone. Tom Brady just knows what he's doing. Now, do I think that the Buccaneers are going to make a run? No. But you don't have to make a run. You just have to win this week and then lose next week. And I think that's exactly what happens to a T. There's not going to be an NFC South representative in the third round of the playoffs. It just isn't going to fucking happen. But the Cowboys, they may be America's team. They're more like America's fluffer. They just get the next team ready to go fuck somebody better than they could.
You're on fire tonight, Magoo.
And the fact that they don themselves in the America's team moniker makes them soft, makes them entitled. For all of the accomplishments of the teams of the 70s and the 90s and the early 80s, for that 1 year in 81, the Cowboys are still living off of old real estate.
Yes.
And they haven't proven anybody wrong in choosing against them. And until they do, I will choose against them, even though I despise the makeup of the Buccaneers and the fact that it circulates around Tom Brady. I've made it wildly known. I've made it known numerous times, and I will continue to make it known until Tom Brady is no longer capable of fucking throwing a football, that I despise that man. Pure petty. Only out of pure pettiness, which we as fans are fully obligated to utilize in our picks. And that is, even though I despise him and the fact that Russell Gage, a former Falcon, wears a Buccaneers uniform, Julio Jones still might be injured. Turf toes are a bitch. I get it. That plagued your career the entire time. Former Falcon, a Buccaneer now. Tom Brady, the guy who basically killed the Falcons franchise single-handedly,
and Raiders
are all Buccaneers. I hate the Buccaneers. I want to choose the Cowboys, but I can't. There's nothing on the Cowboys side that gives me any reasonable measure to think that the Cowboys are going to do shit in this game. Like, give me something, Cowboys. I want to pick you. I hate the team that I think is going to beat you, and they're going to do it. Hey, man.
I don't know. I think you just went on an anti-Semitic rant because
Sounds like
Tom might be dating a Jewish woman.
Well, Tom Brady has scored 6 million points, and I think that's just too damn much.
How dare you?
Oh, my God.
I should have just.
Did I just nuke the channel? Did I just nuke it? I'm sorry.
It's Jim, you have the feeling I had for many years after the Tuck rule. Mine's just been in the distant past, and at some point, maybe no offense, it might have been the game against the Super Bowl against the Falcons. At some point, I was like, you know what? Screw it. He's the best of all time. I respect him. He's just.
I mean, you couldn't not say that after that Falcons game.
Yeah, I used to want. It was always the Manning versus Brady, and I was always like, no, it's Manning, because I was so bitter about the Tuck rule, and that destroyed our franchise for a long time. And it's Brady, and he is the best, and he's pretty amazing.
So I just have one question though, Buck. How long did that last for you? Because I need to take
15 years.
How long?
15 years.
So I still have about 7 years left. Okay.
If he's still playing in, then we can readily admit it.
I'm just trying to gauge if I'm going insane. If I need to swap out all this bullshit behind me for a padded wall. But it sounds like I still have some mileage left on these tires. So I'm gonna ride it out. Fuck Tom Brady. I will not forgive you for what happened in the Super Bowl. And but you're gonna win. You're gonna win. You're gonna win this week.
He single-handedly almost with Edelman, maybe he beat them and came back. My thing was a bad call by the refs, and they took advantage of it, and it sprung Tom Brady into greatness, and it plunged us into futility for a long time.
Well, that's true.
And let's not forget that was this Super Bowl.
Yeah. Ours, we would have been in the Super Bowl. I know.
Well, like I've said, the NFL, like everyone says, oh, they're full of parody, or they're not. And I don't want to feed into the whole like it's it's scripted or any of that shit, because there's so many people saying that like all sports are scripted, and I think those people are brainless.
I agree.
No one would script Monday night.
No.
No one wants that.
Lowest ratings, right? Yeah. Why would they script that?
Yeah. No one would script the Panthers Broncos Super Bowl. I don't buy into that. I think it's a cop out for people that don't want to have a genuine conversation that understands the sport.
People who say that have never played a sport in their life.
No, but I just understand that there's a lingering effect of having your shit pushed in so bad.
Yep.
By a guy who has experienced such success that the only way I can respect Tom Brady is by the level of hate that I portray for him.
Yeah,
it's
fair.
It's perfectly based on his contribution to the game, his accomplishments.
That's exactly how I feel about
all that.
No, never mind. I'm not gonna finish this.
No one hates Ryan Tannehill that bad.
You can finish that statement, Mark. I know people. Look, as a Georgia fan, I totally understand that 90% of college football fans must begin, if they haven't already, hate us.
Oh, I don't hate Georgia. I hate Ohio State, obviously. Forte's in here saying he hates Michigan, and I'm not going to highlight that comment, Jay.
I can't even hate the Chiefs at this point. How could you hate Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes? I hate fucking Kelsey, but he should be an MVP candidate in my opinion. So
see, and like here's another example. This is what justifies my fandom and my takes being a fan. I despise the Saints, and they're dog shit. They're not a threat to anybody. Right. This is purely just based on fanatical emotion. This is to me, and don't get me wrong, this is the fun part of being a fan. You get to be irrational with how you feel, both positively and negatively, on a superficial level about teams with players that you will never meet and you will never live amongst them. This is what makes sports different than real life, where you get to model certain aspects of, like I said earlier, like striving for excellence and pursuing greatness and having discipline and working harder than your competition and just striving to be better, just always constantly working to be better than you were a year prior. I think there's something very good in that. But the reason why I love sports and not just like it is you also have all the room to be irrational and your reasons for not liking other people doing the same thing.
Yes.
It's tribalism in its most purest form if you do it right. And I think that is what I've never lost in being a fan of sport.
I agree. Well put. And I found myself more so, maybe because who I surround myself with, but during football games, I'm arguing with my close friends who are diehard Raiders fans more than I would argue with like a Chiefs fan. It's like, okay, yeah, Mahomes is good. I get it. We suck. And then we're like, Carr sucked. No, it wasn't his fault we lost this game. It was the defense. We should fire the DC. No, we should fire DC. So it's always these.
Some of the worst arguments I've ever gotten in with my friends, my legit like people that I love, godfathers of kids, and we're in each other's will kind of shit, is based around what scheme they should have run on 3rd and 13.
Yep.
Those are my people. Like
Yeah.
that is a bonus that you get
Yep.
when you are in this, community. I see that as a net positive.
A group text that I was in with mostly family, cousins, and my brothers, all Michigan fans, as the TCU Georgia game was going on, was not a pretty sight. We were very upset.
And you said you weren't even watching.
I wasn't watching. It was they were watching. And
Why
it was
did
all
Michigan
about
beat this team? Why wasn't
Michigan's
this team the
game
one
plan against TCU? And it was, it was all justified. It was a terrible game plan, and we were all pissed off. Not even at Georgia or TCU.
The 2 runs you guys had inside the 10, got no points, is why you should probably have a second thought about Harbaugh being back in Ann Arbor. I'm just going to lay it out there.
No,
because if it was me, I would want him all the fucking way out.
I don't think we can do better than Harbaugh. Trust me, I've had these conversations. It's
Don't you think that's a lack of faith that you're not poaching the right people from the places that experience success? We have 2 defensive coordinators, and we have the number 1 defense in the league. You can take one. Like, if I was a Michigan fan, I'd be like, give us Glenn Schumann. Look at Dan Lanning in Oregon in 1 year. Yeah, sure, he got beat badly in week 1, but if I was a Michigan fan, and I love Michigan, trust me, you and I have talked about this. I've always respected Michigan. I've wanted them to do well. They need to get a coach that already has a track record, proven track record of success where the current football focus is, and that's in the South. There's plenty of coaches down here that are doing amazing things.
Michigan can't play Ohio State's or Bama's or Georgia's game. They have their recruiting classes are rarely ever like top 5. Sometimes they'll sneak in the top 10, top 15. Their academic standards are kind of like Notre Dame, so they're already kind of playing with a crutch that way.
Mm-hmm.
And they've tried to do so this is what Harbaugh does run, like the old school offense, and it drives us nuts. He did bring in defensive guys from the NFL. So when they go up against a CJ Stroud, it's not man on man against those NFL receivers. They're actually running these like intricate zones and stuff. And that's how they've been able to sort of narrow that gap between Ohio State.
Yeah.
But they can't do, and Harbaugh's actually shown that he's flexible and he'll kind of make some concessions that way. I don't know like what coach is going to come in and build on that.
They're out there though. I see Harbaugh much like Mark Richt. He was a stabilizer. Yeah. And he got us to double-digit wins every year. And if Mark Richt was around in the playoff era, we would have been in some playoff games, but we would have lost to better teams. You need the equivalent of the Kirby Smart, and any equivalent of that guy out there now would take that Michigan job, because you got to also understand Harbaugh's not long for that position. He's actively interviewing for NFL positions. He's showing you repeatedly that he isn't going to stick around just because that's his alma mater. He has hopes and dreams and desire. Like, he goes to bed going, man, it would be nice to win the college football playoff, but fuck that Lombardi trophy. That is the ring that he just.
Oh, he desires that over a college,
and it's going to destroy his college.
And he
career.
said it openly.
Yeah, and so I'm just saying, as a fan to a fan, as a fan of a team that respects your team, I would be pushing to find the next Kirby Smart, because they exist. Other teams are going to grab them as long as Harbaugh is still taking up space in Ann Arbor.
Justin is going to unfriend me, but this was the name. The guy that coaches these guys was the name. I was like, this is who I want Michigan to get if Harbaugh leaves. Oh, Lane.
Yeah.
Lane.
But Michigan's too, quote, a high and mighty to bring Lane in, because
Clifton?
Yeah.
Is that what that chat was briefly? I just got one thing. Oh Lord.
Tell me how many natties Lane is responsible for. He's also responsible for destroying Tennessee, USC. He'll be responsible for destroying Ole Piss, which I've always found interesting as like a Mississippi State fan. It's like you do understand that all you got to do is just go Mississippi State. Like if you want to just like change Miss for piss, like you got to get a little more differential than that. But good on you, Bulldogs. Other Bulldogs. I don't know, man. I would have much rather there been the Georgia versus Michigan natty because I think that would have been much more entertaining. Well, Mississippi State has a few holes to fill. Not saying why, but got to find a head coach.
We still call him Lance Kiffin because that's what Al Davis called him when he introduced him in the press conference.
Lance.
That's how much work Al put into that hire.
Nice.
Well, damn, Justin shut me down. Too many letters. That's why you can't do it.
Yeah, Lance. Lance. He was such a.
Well, guys, I think we fully solidified all of the picks for this week
Come full circle
in the wild card round, and I don't think that anybody could clearly and educatedly, obviously I'm using the accurate words, stand up to us and have any ground to say that any of us are incorrect. I think we're all perfect in what we do because we know this fucking sport. And go football.
Go football.
Go football.
See you guys.